Okay, welcome back, everyone, to the We Are Marshall podcast. My name is Stephen Marshall, and my co-host is Bill McIntyre here. Hit like, share, and subscribe so that we can continue to grow this podcast and give you good content each and every night. And we are building a subscriber-based content, so keep doing this and watching so we can keep building that as well. We are also sponsored by a large dating site called MateConnector.com. Mosey on over, check it out, sign up. It is a very inexpensive, large dating site that has all the features of the big players, but like I said, at a very inexpensive price. So here we go today. It is Wednesday. We're going to start with a topic which seems to be Mr. Trump in the news for everything all the time. I guess he keeps us all working, you know? So basically, this first one is Trump knew about the declassification process, okay? The National Archives has informed former President Donald Trump that it is set to hand over to special counsel Jack Smith 16 records which show Trump and his top advisors had knowledge of the correct declassification process while he was president, according to multiple sources. Trump and his allies have insisted that as president, Trump did not have to follow a specific process to declassify documents. At a CNN town hall last week, which we loved, it was so fun, Trump repeated the claim that simply by removing classified documents from the White House, he had declassified them. And by the way, he quotes, "They become automatically declassified when I took them," Trump said. Of course, there is a process to declassify. Trump should have followed that, and there would be no issue whatsoever. This is the problem with Trump. He feels he is above reproach on almost all things. This does not exonerate Pence or Biden, though. They should get the same treatment whether Trump obstructed or not. This is a theme of similar to what we did yesterday, Bill, with all these security things and all these leaks and all these people that think they're above the law and can do whatever they want. So what's your thought process on Trump thinking he can just walk out of the White House with classified information and miraculously it's declassified?
Well, I think I'm going to either come across as woefully uninformed on this because I know that you've done your homework, and I don't think that's the case because I certainly did my due diligence in this one. Or if I'm just going to come across as just plain disagreeing with you. On the surface, because oh no, I'm not afraid to do that. We obviously, we gotta have some fun here too.
Yeah.
The declassification. First of all, I want to point out that in the town hall, Trump actually said, in addition to what you just said, he said, even by the virtue of me thinking about it, it's the classified.
This is the above reproach I speak of. Yes, right on.
Now, Trump is not only a nationalist, he's a king, he's an emperor, he's an oligarch, he's all of it, okay? Damn, that pesky Congress and Constitution keep getting us away, man. Having said that, there is no process for declassing documents. The American Bar Association confirms this. I actually Googled the exact words. Does the president have the authority to automatically declassify documents? And the federal classification of national security documents is used to control how officials handle information whose release may cause the nation harm, right? Okay, so a lot of documents that he said a communication between him and his staffers. You got an interjection? I thought you were going to interject. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, please.
No, I had nothing to say at that point, so keep proceeding.
Oh, okay. So, he interviewed with Hannity on October 22nd, and he added the confusion about this when he said there doesn't have to be a process, as I understand it, and that's making your point, as I understand it. If you're the president of the United States, you can declassify just by saying it's declassified. And then he again said even by thinking about it. A lot of national security experts, almost all of them, dismissed his suggestion that he could declassify that. But they've all focused on saying by thinking about it. They took issue with that part of it. But according to the American Bar Association, and I looked this up today on a legal fact check, it says legal guidelines support his contention that presidents have broad authority to formally declassify most documents that are not statutorily protected, easy for me to say, while they are in office. except as it pertains to nuclear weapons. And those are handled separately under a whole different process, a statutory scheme in conjunction with the Atomic Energy Act. That being said, you maintain that there is a process, and I want to hear what you came up with or what you have for what the process is, because I think that I do believe there has to be more to this than saying it's declassified because I say it is.
Exactly.
There has to be more.
Let's look at it in a logical fashion, okay? I don't have special counsel Jack Smith's protocol on this, but he does have one. He has not released it as of yet, but let's use logic and common sense, okay?
Oh, boy. Oh, what?
This information is it's classified for a reason, right? Can we agree on that? Okay.
Yeah.
If it's classified for a reason, that means there are many people that shouldn't see it. So
because it may cause harm to the nation overall. Yes.
For a number of reasons. We don't have to get into specificity. I'm just sticking to logic and common sense here. So if we have stuff that is classified, so he thinks he can just be like, all right, I'll just say it's not classified, but I'm not going to tell anybody that I declassified it, okay?
Right.
So no, there definitely is a process, even though I know what you're saying with your legal. The legal thing doesn't detract from a process, actually, if you read what you said again. Because basically what I'm saying is if I can't just say, hey, this is declassified, but not tell anybody or tell the important people that need to know that it is now declassified. So there's at least some protocol where you have to tell somebody or fill out some type of paperwork that then declassifies the classified information so that we all, or not all of us, but so all the people involved would know that this is where it is now, the status of it. Go ahead.
Well, that's actually true, and I wanted to see where you went with that. In all cases, the ABA does also add that, however, it's a nice big however, a formal procedure is required. So government agencies related to whatever the document is regarding need to be in the know with certainty about what has been declassified and what hasn't.
Exactly.
So you can't grab a file folder from a file cabinet and say, this one right here, this one's classified, because people have to, there's a process which people have to take, have to mark and change that categorization. So a federal appeals court in a 2020 Freedom of Information Act case, New York Times versus CAA, underscored that point. Declassification cannot occur unless designated officials follow specified procedures. So that's actually the answer. I was just delaying the inevitable for both of us. He did not follow procedures, and he's really gonna find himself hanging in the wind for that one.
Well, I don't think he's going to hang in the wind. I think they're going to just push it to use it as another thing to try to kick him out of the election. But the bottom line is this is going to be nothing again, because they will have to, as I finished my little intro on this, they would have to pursue Biden and Pence for the same type of infraction. It's not going to happen. This is going to get brushed under the rug. But my only hope is, since we've been with this theme of security things and leaks, that they do put something in place now that is definitively written, that everybody knows, and you can't take classified documents out. And if you do, they need to tell these people there is some accountability.
But Steve, what are we even hearing ourselves as we're having this conversation? Not to know now that there's actually no employee handbook at the White House that states how to handle classified documents? I mean, you and I worked together. We had a manual about what we could do within the office, right?
Do you really believe there's nothing written down that that they have to do?
But you know what? If there was, it wouldn't be this much contention and speculation about it. I mean, is it a strategic fight about constitutional and presidential protections, or is it about keeping evidence from the special counsel? Which one is it about?
I think it's just Trump and his ego. That was it.
Well, what's on the documents, Steve? What documents are they?
They're classified, so who knows? We don't know. Will we ever find out? I don't know, and I really don't care, to be honest with you. I just want to make sure that they're not walking out with top secret information, that it's more secure. And as I did that segment yesterday, the DHS trying to handle classified information. They're going to come out with a big memo on how to do it and who's got access to it. And maybe it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing that it's, like I said yesterday, reactive and not proactive.
Well, the what was I going to say? The National Archives has already seized several documents without giving the Trump team a chance to prepare a challenge. So they can pretty much take what they want and just tell everybody what's on it if they want to. So I'm not sure why they're dragging this whole process out. But you're absolutely right. We've established this team. While it's our opinion, of course, I think it's a fairly valid one, that this is all about making sure they smear him as much as possible to the point people don't want to make him the nominee for the 2024 election. It's an interesting case, and I can't wait to see how it plays out. It does just show one more example of just what a character and how much he challenges just how much we really want, another term as he continues to act like this. But it's fun. I'll say that. It's fun.
Well, believe it or not, the media loves him. Look, we got stories all about him left and right. But me personally, I do not want him to run. I want him to go and enjoy his life and not run anymore. But that's neither here nor there. He's going to run. We'll see what happens. I believe he'll be better than Biden, so we'll just see what happens.
He's already established that whoever gets the nomination is going to have to be some form of MAGA, right? They've already established that. That's what the Democrats are preparing for, and that's what the Republicans want. They want a clear challenger to the progressive left, and that's what they're going to have to come up with. So,
exactly. Okay, well, we're going to move on to the topic that you can start off on this one. Just want to reiterate, this is the We Are Marshall podcast. My name's Stephen Marshall. This is Bill McIntyre. Hit that like, share, and smash that subscribe so we can continue to grow. And go check out our sponsor, MateConnector.com, www.mateconnector.com. Now, the next subject, Bill, you had brought this up, and this is probably going to be something we talk about, I think, for the next few days, at least a segment each day. And that's going to be the Democrat reaction to the Durham report. We'll let you lead this situation. Go right ahead.
This is something that I didn't do a whole lot of preparation on. I know you have fun the fact I prepare, but I always want to make sure I have something remotely intelligent, at least appearing intelligent, to say during these on all these subjects. But we touched on this extensively yesterday about the Durham report, and you laid out a beautiful presentation on just how emphatically and clearly, with no room for interpretation, no vagueness of any kind, that there was zero, nada, zilch, nothing to support the investigation even beginning, never mind how long it ran and everything else. So today, we had to know that today was going to be all about reaction, right, to the report. And of course, the Democrats, they doubled down amazingly. Almost all of them, without failure, didn't even take a middle of the road approach. They said, "Oh, there's more to it." They're wrong. They're wrong. Okay, they're wrong. Okay, no. This was a very extensive investigation that just didn't go their way. And Adam Schiff, he actually stood up and he said, "Oh, there's evidence. It's just not something that we're privy to right now, and we can't go into it." Which is what a preview of saying that we're going to do this again. I mean, there still will not be any evidence for what was nothing but a distraction, a witch hunt, a diversion, a wag the dog, let's just make sure that Hillary does not lose. And that's all it was. And I'm not taking a partisan approach. That really is what it was. And the Republicans are singing our tune right now. They're demanding accountability. So both sides are talking, neither side's hearing the other. There's no dialogue going on. There's only one thing worse than a person who denies the truth, and that's a person who knows the truth and then continues to insist that it's not true.
Absolutely.
That is the definition of just it's such irrevocable harm to a person's character, and that's of course assuming that that person has an actual character. And some of these people, I'm sorry, I don't see that. But to think that we can look at this, anybody can look at this. You know, the vaunted American Independent even can look at this and say, oh, maybe he's right. Maybe there is something after they just released this report after 7 years, okay, of looking into something that just wasn't true. There's no mention of any kind of apology to the guy who was the recipient of it, the guy who was, you know, like him or not, he was forced to be sidelined and sidetracked and just battered from all sides, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week about this. And as a sidebar, did you see how many news outlets had reporting awards, Pulitzers, and different things for the reporting on this?
I'm going to get into a little part of that.
Yeah, okay, good. WAPO got what, 10?
Yep.
All right, I'm not going to steal your thunder. But, yeah, this is just what I thought it would be. I was really hoping it wouldn't be as it played out. I wanted to be wrong about this. I wanted the Democrats to just say, okay, you know, it's over, let's move on, and maybe talk about something important like, I don't know, everything that's on fire in the world right now. But no, let's talk about an election that's already over, that was already won, about a president who's not even in office anymore. Yeah, I'm getting too hopped up. Please, I want to hear your take, and I'm sorry for taking so long on that one.
No, don't even worry about it. Speak your mind. But what I have to say before I get into this is, let's be real. Because of this stupid investigation that was a fraud, it was election meddling, period. I don't care what anybody says about that. This was election meddling, and they didn't even stop him from winning. That's the funniest part.
Yeah.
Okay? And then the second thing is, they used it to try to make sure he couldn't do anything during his presidency, but he still did get some good things done.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
That's the credit to a man. I don't really care about Trump, but I give him some credit. He did do some good things in office as people. But anyway, they seem to be in denial, but it seems that both parties look at any investigation by the other as useless and fraudulent.
Absolutely.
Headlines of liberal media outlets like the Washington Post state they stick by their coverage of Trump collusion after winning Pulitzer Prizes in regards to this. Adam Schiff doubles down on his views, and so does Peter Strzok. Peter Strzok's the one that fakes this whole thing, and he's still sticking to his guns. He's caught right in the report by Durham. Both of these men are pivotal in this, and they both definitively know it's all fabricated. Yet, like we are seeing with Democrats, they lie even when you can see the truth behind them, literally. It is a peaceful protest. Oh, but the building's on fire. I mean, this is what we're dealing with these people right now. They will lie to you right to your face because in their opinion, and this is me not just speaking to Bill, this is me speaking to all of you right now. They think we are stupid. That's it. I mean, they are going to say whatever they want because they think all us voters are just dumb people and they're more elite and smarter than us. That's where we're at.
Well, that's a very sad, but I believe very true statement.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that. But this whole thing is just a farce. What I would like for once is someone to say, we were wrong. We didn't do it right. But we can't even get that out of any of them, okay? And Trump, now they've actually probably just spurned him on to maybe even win now because you keep seeing things come out in his favor. So they're only making themselves look bad and making him look good. So if they want him to win, which I do have a theory that they want Trump to win the presidency, Bill. I have a theory.
I'd love to hear anything you want to say on that subject.
Well, the reason I say they want Trump to win is because where is this economy going? It's going into the tank. Okay?
Sure.
We are in a recession by all the variables right now except for the job market. Okay? The job market's throwing it all off, but we're there. And then you look down the road, and all the big economists are saying we're going into recession at the end of this year or into 2024. So they want to hand Trump a terrible economy and blame it on him, giving them time to mold another Obama-type president and put him in to take it away from the Republicans because they're in office with the economy going bad and all these fires going on. They'll blame it all on Trump. not Biden. They want him to win.
I only have one issue with that. I don't see the Democrats with all of the evidence that allowing the nation, enabling policies that are clearly harmful to the nation, national invasion by hordes of people from other countries, aliens, okay? Soft on crime policies that nobody supports, including a lot of Democrats, especially the ones who are forced to walk dodging bullets on the streets as they go to work each day, okay? The question has to be asked again, and maybe in another podcast, do the Democrats want total chaos?
Yes.
Okay, so back to your point about Trump. I love what you just said, but I just don't see when they're doing all these things to not only gain power, but they actually have a very rare long-term strategy of retaining that power. So you're suggesting that the Democrats are willing to give up an election. Maybe I'm not thinking of this through, and maybe I'm being obtuse, but I just don't see them with the capability or the intention of ever loosening their grip on the power that they've so ruthlessly, by any means, I'm right out of the playbook of Saul Alinsky, man. I mean, they are playing every possible angle to retain just complete control by the Democratic Party for them to relinquish it for Trump. And also, there's a fair amount of evidence to suggest that Trump will still do it.
Okay, but the point being is, how would they lose power? They're not, even if Trump gets into presidency, they're not going to lose any power. Trump was in president for 4 years. They still had the power.
But what if we have an actual red wave? What if enough of the country says enough with drive-by shootings, turnstile prosecutions and no jail time and lenient sentences, and people with 35 convictions walking the street, mugging people on the subway? What if all of America, or a decent section, or even 60% or 51% of the people decide they've had enough when there's an actual red wave and they actually lose power in the House and in the Senate? What happens then?
I don't think it's bad enough yet, and I don't think it's going to be. And I also feel many of these hot point issues you're talking about that you're concerned about, you should be, but they don't want to fix them. They can't fix them. Okay, they can't come down hard on people for crime. Then they lose their criminal reform, their judicial reform. They don't want to fix the things that are going on now because it's against their constituents. So they'll let Trump fix it right now, some of it.
Convicted felons can't vote.
Well, that's not true. they can vote in some states.
Okay,
It's not definitively true. But anyway, this Trump thing, we got the election coming, Bill. We're going to have some good fun with that. Just think down the road, all the stuff that's going to come out that we're going to have.
We got 2 years of hour-long podcast ahead of us without even trying.
This podcast is going on in perpetuity. I'll sit here in a skeleton and do it. But anyway, let's move on to the next one, and it's going to be another troublesome issue. Okay, this is the We Are Marshall podcast. Hit like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to grow it. Go check out our large sponsor, MateConnector.com, an inexpensive large dating site with all the features of the big players, but for that cheap price. Okay, this next one is a Massachusetts U.S. attorney in trouble. Okay, Rachel Rollins, the U.S. attorney for Massachusetts, leaked sensitive Justice Department information to a journalist in an effort to influence a local election. But there's no election interference by the Dems ever, right?
No.
She lied to investigators and improperly attended a fundraiser with Joe Biden. So right there, if you're going to say she's not a Democrat, please go look at her donations, and she's at a foundation with Joe Biden. According to two critical federal reports released Wednesday, and the reports come one day after Rollins' attorney said she plans to resign at the end of the week. The DOJ Inspector General's report outlines the allegations and says that Rollins lied during an interview about the information she gave to the reporter. That false statement's allegation was referred to the Justice Department, which we won't be surprised at this next statement, which has declined to bring charges. Shocking. Merrick Garland at it again. This seems to be a theme around anyone supporting Democrats. They feel they can lie about everything, even if we see the truth. Then they double down on their lies. Election meddling also seems to be a theme with the Democrats. So now we have a U.S. attorney that's now going and getting involved with campaigns and elections, donating money, leaking information to journalists. Oh, and we're not going to prosecute her. I mean, come on. If this was a Republican doing such things, that person would be in jail, indictments left and right. It's really getting ridiculous how bad that they have now politicized all of our major law enforcement entities in this country, Bill. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I want to remind myself, not you, that we are an independent podcast. You and I, this is your podcast, obviously. I'm only a guest, but we are both longtime friends, and we're both independent. I want to say, for the sake of just saying it, that influencing elections is not only a Democrat thing, okay?
Absolutely.
But in Massachusetts, all right, well, no, that's just, I want to throw that out there, okay?
Yep.
I'm from Massachusetts, okay? Massachusetts is the state
we both
where
are.
That's true. Yeah, I'm sorry. I keep thinking of you as a New Hampshire resident. Yeah. This is the same state that had one of the highest ranking political figures, was the brother of one of the top 10 FBI most wanted, Whitey Bulger.
Yes. Correct.
Okay. And people let this go. No one thought that it was unusual that one was the head of the Winter Hill gang, being charged with 19 murders or something like that, and extortion, and hanging out with no less than the Gambino family, and Billy Bulger's up there in the state house going, "Don't talk to me about my brother," and people put up with this. Okay, it's also the state that consistently has a Republican governor that gets nothing done with a completely controlled Democrat Senate. Okay, nothing surprises me in New Hampshire, in Massachusetts. I could go on forever about the corruption in that state, but I'm just simply not going to. So I looked into this a little bit, and she resigned. I guess that's where they're going to leave it. Okay, yep. She resigned. They're not going to. Maybe a deal was made in which you step down. We're not going to prosecute you. So I read the report, and I actually have it in front of me. The investigation into Rachel Collins, Rollins.
Yep.
And it's a pretty long report, and they were pretty thorough. Arroyo, remember Arroyo? He was the one that she was trying to influence for DA.
I do, yeah.
So she did that. She went to a fundraiser with the First Lady, Jill Biden. And she
some money to that fundraiser.
Yep. So basically, the indictments are as follows. This report describes investigation by the DOJ with allegations concerning the presence of the U.S. Attorney for the District of Massachusetts at a Democratic Party fundraiser featuring Jill Biden. So the first segment is Rollins assisted a candidate in a partisan political event and sought to influence the election by, among other things, disclosing non-public, sensitive DOJ information to the press. Rollins made false statements under oath and lacked candor about the disclosures during her OIG interview. That's a crime. That's several crimes.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, those are felonies. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is just ridiculous. Second summarized charge, Rollins attended a partisan political fundraiser without required department approval and contrary to ethics advice that she received. Okay, so then it said findings regarding additional allegations of ethics and policy violations. Did you look at how many of these there are?
There are quite a few. Yes, I did, and that's why I'm so flabbergasted at Merrick Garland. It was from an inspector general. A report was given to the DOJ to prosecute, and they said no. Why don't they want to prosecute any Democrats? You're seeing it.
Because the Department of Justice is not an independent, bipartisan agency anymore, obviously. Now, if you're telling me this was a Republican DA, do I even have to speculate?
No, you don't.
But I got to tell you something. What I think is annoying is when I read the first article I touched on, it says Rachel Rollins, the first African-American U.S. attorney from Massachusetts. Why does that matter? Can we just get past the race thing? Jesus.
It's not even the race thing. I am so sick of the first of this. How about she is an accomplished woman that accomplished something great. Good for her. That's it.
Exactly.
Even women, you don't even have to put in the first women, the first black, anything. That's called segregating. Okay,
yes,
which is what we're going to get into that at the end of the podcast.
But it's almost like they're inferring by suggesting that she's African American that there's somehow some kind of correlation between that and some kind of fraud, something like that. It's just I swear that you read between the lines of these articles, and it's staggering what you find. So she actually violated the Hatch Act.
Yes,
which is. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm just take a second to read the actual Hatch Act to you.
Yep, go for it.
Just a summary. The Hatch Act of 1939, an act to prevent pernicious political activities, is a United States federal law. Its main provision prohibits civil service employees in the executive branch of the federal government, except the president and vice president, from engaging in some forms of political activity. It became a law in August 2nd, 1939. That's a federal. I mean, this is not even a state issue. This is all federal felonies. And I got to tell you, is there uproar that I'm missing about this?
No.
Is there uproar?
That's what I'm getting at. Why isn't there more uproar on Merrick Garland and his non-prosecution of Democrat-leaning people? We need to get, this is why we're doing this, Bill. We need to get this out there. People need to hear this. You need to contact your congressman. You need to do whatever it takes to say, why is Merrick Garland acting political? Enough.
Well, in the description of the charges, they used the word egregious for the violations of DOJ policy. DOJ policy. It's not like, kind of stepped over the line. Egregious is a pretty strong word, man. You don't use that word unless you're trying to make a serious point.
Yeah, you Supermaned over that line. That's what I'm saying. But,
man,
I can't understand why they wouldn't do anything about this. It would actually help them to show that, hey, now they're going to do the right thing, okay? But they can't even get out of their own way and do the right thing politically to help themselves. That's what's ridiculous. But anyway, we'll move on to the next one. This next one's going to be real fun. This is the We Are Marshall podcast. Hit that like, share, and subscribe, and go check out our sponsor, MateConnector.com at www.mateconnector.com. Now, the next one is, this is the guy I want to run for president. I want him to be the Republican nomination. May not happen, but I do believe that at some time in our lifetime, this gentleman will be president of the United States.
If not 24, he will be in 28.
That is a good possibility, I would say that. But Desantis signs a bill to stop kids from learning about sex. Now, I worded it that way for a specific reason, and I'm going to get into that. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on Wednesday signed into law new restrictions on gender-affirming treatments for minors. Remember I said that, people. Minors, not adults, minors, okay? Drag shows, bathroom usage, and which pronouns can be used in school. The latest front in the Republican leaders' ongoing cultural battles. The package of legislation was a priority for DeSantis, who has already elevated these efforts in political speeches across the country. As he marches toward an expected presidential campaign in the coming days, and I quote, "We are going to remain a refuge of sanity and a citadel of normalcy, and kids should have an upbringing that reflects that," DeSantis says. Now, I bring this subject up because of the headline. The headline was that he signs a bill to limit the things for trans. And it's not true. It's limit for kids that might be that issue, okay? Adults can do what they want, just like they say he's banning books. No, he's stopping children from getting access to books. His whole shtick is to protect children. And anybody that's against that, you're in the wrong country. I changed the headline for this podcast, but it states as follows. DeSantis signs into law restrictions on trans Floridians' access to treatments and bathrooms. How misleading is that? That's ridiculous. So it is focused on kids, not adult trans. I do not see the value in kid drag shows at all. If someone out there can tell me what the value is, I'm listening. I will listen. Okay, but I don't see it. We as a society state that kids' brains are not formed till 25 years of age. I mean, that's something that's prevalent, everybody knows. Yet we expect them to make a good decision or a sound decision here on something that's going to affect them life for the rest of their life. So you're telling me someone under 10 years old has the right mind that isn't formed for another 15 years to make a decision to change their sex? No, they are not. Go ahead, Bill.
You might have to actually reach through the screen and slap me to keep me on track in this one, because this one is outrageous to me. And I have a little bit of history with this as well as a personal connection to this, okay?
Go for it. Just say what.
But let me just start by saying that this is something I want to point out later, but there is actually, despite the fact that it's a very big conservative soundbite, drag shows are not targeting children. Most drag shows are for adults. They've been made available for children who have questions about how they identify and they have curiosities. And that may be debatable, but I always like to make sure that before people start, going off and about things, that the facts are there, okay? Because the other day I wanted to talk about benefits for illegals, but I want to look into it first. In actuality, most illegals aren't eligible for benefits, so I would have made an arse of myself by talking about that. But as an aside, okay, back on point. In March, Ron Desantis blew the world up with HB 1557, which was the Parental Rights and Education General Bill.
Absolutely.
It was nicknamed the Don't Say Gay Bill.
And it's not that at all.
Right. Now, I have a very good friend. She will never watch this podcast because she hates my politics. She's a good liberal, and I still love her. She has a trans daughter, identifies as male. I have a gay daughter who is with a woman who uses pronouns. I'm very close to this issue, okay? But I'm also very much in favor of leaving the goddamn kids alone. Okay, having said that, HB 1557 was about prohibiting classroom instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity K through 3. Okay, so what's the age group of K through 3? What, we're talking about five to 7? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. It gives parents control over what their children are being taught. So the Don't Say Gay thing was a nice distraction. And my friend, when I mentioned this bill, she said, "Oh, the Don't Say Gay." I said, "It's not about that. That's not what the bill is." She said, "What's it about then?" I said, "It's about talking about sex and gender issues and sexual identity. The kids who don't know if they want to be a fireman or an astronaut at this point." Okay? I said, the teachers are stepping in and saying, "Well, do you want to be a male astronaut or a female astronaut?" No, okay? Never mind 25, okay? Third grade is not a time to talk about sex and gender. These kids aren't thinking about gender. They got pee-pees at that time, okay? Then that's the only use that they know of for their genitals, and they're not thinking about if the clothes they're wearing are gender consistent. So this is just ridiculous. It's such a hot issue for me. So Ron DeSantis was immediately labeled non-trans. I had dinner with her family last month, and they said right out to me, Florida is the least trans-friendly state in the entire country. Now they have, what do you call it? They have something in the game there. They have a stake in the game because they have a family member who is going as a trans person in Florida. So there's concern there. Okay, so having said that, that bill passed. So the furor is over. So the 4 things that passed today that he signed were gender-affirming treatments for minors, which include puberty blockers and hormones. Puberty blockers are, I'm sorry, I think it's absolutely outrageous. That is just plain messing with biology at that point. Okay,
Absolutely.
there's and there's a many stronger ways of putting it, but I'm going to leave it at that. And that is just, it's wrong. Drag shows, for minors. Now, and I had something on. I think I already shared that. Drag shows are not necessarily proven to be they're not targeting children according to the source I looked at. Many drag shows are being restricted to adults. Some performers said they don't want to perform with children. Other events welcome families. Say drag performers and advocates provide a welcome space and example to young people who may not feel home in traditional gender roles. However, there have been some.
Not to cut you off, but the problem that we have with this, okay? There are drag shows popping up all over the country. Massachusetts, you can go look it up. They've had a couple. And they're not, listen, if you want to have a drag show for adults, go at it. I have no problem with it. You want to be trans, go at it as an adult. I have no problem with it. It's when you prey on the kids. Now they're bringing these drag shows to story times at kids' libraries.
I know. And that's why I want to say that my source is generic at best as far as their information, okay? And it is a big Republican talking point. And again, the focus of this bill is for kids. So, but they're also, there are a lot of Republicans are using the words violence in association with the drag shows. And this is something you learn by watching Criminal Minds, okay? Before they were trans, they were called transvestites, men who dressed as women, okay? You don't see a lot of women dressing up as men, okay? It's mostly men dressing up as women. There's no correlation between crime or that's not even homosexuality. Definitely not violence, okay? But it is definitely another attempt at indoctrination. And there, I used it. Okay, I know that Democrats hate that word, but there it is. Bathroom usage. Your actual sex, your actual genitalia, that's the bathroom that you use while a minor, especially in schools, okay? And pronouns. And pronouns. You're not going to use he, she, I, they, them, her, them, whatever. Them, I said that twice. That's one of the ones that my daughter's girl uses. She says, my daughter calls her they. And I'm just like, and, we talked about this. That's just I'm sorry, that these pronouns are just a way of saying, hey, look at me. My name is Bill. My real name is William. If someone calls me William, I might politely request that they call me Bill. But I'm not going to say, my name is Bill. I don't do that. This is where it is. So, of course, the advocates are just, the critics say that he's trying to erase the trans community and all this. And it's just mind-blowing. But here's the problem. This is where it gets really interesting, is that there are documented cases of school districts in which children do not have to get parental consent to use puberty blockers, hormones, and even surgery. Okay, the Greater Johnstown School District of Pennsylvania recently announced a gender transition plan for students that would not require consent or knowledge of a student's parents. In another case, school officials were actively transitioning an 11-year-old daughter and 12-year-old son without their parents' knowledge and against their known wishes. So let's take that another direction. Biden has proposed amendments, it's not passed yet, to Title IX. And he's shifted the language of the sexual categories, okay? They're coming for your children. The administration ostensibly drafted the rules to protect gay and transgender students from bullying and harassment, but they don't do anything of the sort. In reality, they're handing teachers a weapon to subvert their parents. Title IX is a simple statute that outlaws sex discrimination. It says nothing about gender or gender identity, but the administration wants to put its own spin and redefine sex to include gender and gender identity. And this change has some serious far-reaching implications. One that'll be used to keep parents in the dark. And well, I mean, do you need any more? This is. I want to make sure this is really happening, because let's face it, people say things are happening that they really aren't. There's more than one. It happened in Arizona. It's happening in New York, where children as young as 10 or 11 years old are being encouraged not to embrace their inner selves, but to change their gender identity. So all I'm going to say is, this is called Let the Kids Be Kids bill package. Yeah. There it is, man. Let the kids be kids. I'm going to say it again. This kid's still thinking about whether he wants to be a fireman, and you're asking him, what gender he wants to be the rest of his life. This is what else? If it's not indoctrination, what else is it?
Well, I'm gonna actually help you with your indoctrination. Okay, let's say you're a movie star, right?
Sure.
I'll use Eddie Murphy as an example. He's such a good example of this. Okay, what was Eddie Murphy all about when we were younger? Raw, raunchy comedy, right?
Oh yeah.
And
pushing the envelope.
And then he did all these movies that were raw and raunchy still. Okay.
Yep.
But then what did Eddie Murphy knew that he was getting older and becoming irrelevant? So
Daddy daycare.
Thank you. Yes, you're right on. So what do you do to become relevant? You go and appeal to the children so that as they grow up, you continue to stay relevant. So what are the Democrats doing? They're appealing to the kids in a way, trying to make it look like they're trying to protect them in some way so that they can indoctrinate them and stay relevant. Because now the kids are going to look back at that young age and say, well, they had my best interest at heart. But did they really? Did they? I don't believe that, okay?
You want to protect kids, you stop bullying, okay? You keep school shooters from getting in the building. That's how you protect kids, okay? You give them a chance to go to a school and be safe and not worry about ducking under their desk and actually learn something and actually be a kid. This has nothing to do with protecting kids. It's subjected them to bullying. It's subjecting them to ridicule. It's subjecting them to all kinds of issues that they need to be mature enough to decide if they're ready for this.
As I said, your mind's not mature enough till you're 25, so let them wait it out. Yeah, I think people need to understand this is a big problem. There are people that won't like a trans, okay? And I don't like them because of that. I don't want them to not like someone because they're trans. Big deal.
And I hope no one thinks that I'm saying that anything like that either.
No. What I'm making sure is people know we're not that. We support a trans, that's fine, but we don't support, like you said, them coaching a child when their mind's not prepared to make these decisions to make the decision.
I'm saying this again. So no, there's no question, Steve. We are talking about the kids.
Exactly.
That's all it.
We wanted. You have kids. I have kids. We want to protect the kids. I would, if someone was doing something nefarious, in my opinion, this is nefarious to a child. At this point, to my kid, I don't even know what I would do. My mother watched the first podcast that we discussed this issue. Okay, yep. Her boyfriend, 82 years old boyfriend, is a raging liberal. Nice guy, very nice guy, smart guy too. He watched up until the point that we talked about the trans issue, and he left the room. She chased after him. She told me this thing. Chased after him and said, "I worked in schools. He's right. This is happening." So he was in denial of it.
Oh my God. He actually looked. He's the one who made me squint when he said that he thinks Biden's doing a good job.
Well, see, this is the thing that stinks. There are some really smart people on the left, okay? There are really smart people on the right, but unfortunately, they're so dug in with how they feel about certain things and these talking points they get that they just don't want to believe it, period. But anyway, this is a topic that's so big in the news, we're definitively going to be talking about it. Plus, Desantis, we'll be talking about him for the next 5-10 years. I mean, this is a fact. The guy is a very polished politician. He's got a great resume, and I look forward to seeing what he does in the future.
When he runs for president, don't think that his legal approach to the trans issue in Florida isn't going to be a centerpiece of his platform. He's going to be called out on this constantly.
But he's
comfortable with it, no question.
Well, the guy, he is an attorney. So he is ready for any legalese talk. He's basically in his head saying, bring it on. And good for him.
So in the unlikely event that Mr. Desantis is watching this podcast, okay, I want to say to you, sir, all you need the same response to any nonsense you get is, I'm trying to protect children. That's it.
And Bill, to protecting the kids.
Well done.
we're all for that. Okay.
All right.
So we're gonna move on to the next subject. We can go on and on about this one, but this is the We Are Marshall podcast. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. Go check out our sponsor, MateConnector.com. Big inexpensive dating website with all the bells, whistles, and features of the others, but for a much less inexpensive price. The next one, Bill, we'll let you grab this one since this was something you wanted to discuss today. And this is our friendly squad members voting against memorializing and honoring police officers. Go right ahead, sir.
Okay. Today, what was the name of it? It was called House Resolution 363. And it was honoring 556 law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty, 224 in 2022 alone, as well as 332 officers killed in previous years whose stories were received and basically brought to light for consideration for hero status, if you will, in memorial and proper memorialization in 2022. The squad, which is made up of, I'm going to be nice, but such obstructionist knuckleheads as Rashida Tlaib, AOC, who's probably the head, if you will, Presley, Omar, and Corey Bush. Two people, and the word was muttered nay, not like stood up and defiantly, no, they muttered nay in opposition to the passing of this resolution. So basically this resolution was that it would honor, memorialize, and give hero status to those killed in the line of duty, which is a very hot topic now because a lot of police officers are being killed and armed, and a lot of police officers are resigning, and a lot of people are not applying to be police officers. So in addition to every other shortage we have in this country right now, we have a police shortage. So imagine a bill that even AOC, Omar, and Presley voted yes on, that these two did not. I have to say that in some way this was just a softball, a meatball tossed up by the Republicans to expose the squad.
Absolutely.
Okay? Because it's not entirely confirmed to be true, but supposedly LBJ once said about an opponent during an election, let's accuse him of having sex with farm animals. At which time his aide said to him, but there's no evidence to suggest that he does that, Mr. Johnson. And he says, yeah, but won't it be fun to watch him deny it?
Yeah.
This is a weak example at best, but it kind of correlates because I want someone to actually say, did you actually refuse to vote for this resolution on principle? And are you just going to come out now and admit that you hate cops? I mean, even if you don't agree with this resolution, okay, you look like you don't like cops when you vote no on this. I'm sorry. There's no other optics for the situation. All right. So I think the Republicans need to take advantage of the situation. And just a little aside on this one, the representatives wrote the Republican introduced an amendment is not a referendum on support for the safety of first responders. We believe, let us be clear, the health and safety of every one of our community members, including our first responders, is our top priority for us. And they were very quick to assert that they believe that the protection of the community is a top priority. But this resolution is not a referendum on support of first responders. It is a document intended to advance Republicans' false narrative around supporting law enforcement and gaslight the public about where they stand. It went from bad to worse. We used the word gaslight. I think everybody knows what gaslight means, right, Steve?
Well, most people may not. It's basically just saying a lie that isn't a lie and keeping it going. That's all. You
push the lie until someone believes it, with the intention of actually making them crazy is the clinical definition of it.
Yeah.
This is just At what point do you put down the show, take off the mask, and just do the right thing? Because this bill, in addition to provisions to memorialize and give a special status to officers killed in the line of duty, also has resources and training necessary to keep communities safe. Well, everything that they've done for the police has made them less likely to keep the community safe. Okay, they've given them cameras so they can be tripped up and have anything they do in the line of duty while under intense duress to make a mistake that someone can exploit and say the cops are bad and evil and all racist and overly violent, use excessive force. They gotta recognize that the anti-cop rhetoric, it has no place in this situation. So I hope I didn't take all the thunder from you on this one, Steve. I'd love to hear what you think.
No, I don't think that's what they're doing. But let me get into this, and then I'll explain to you what I think's going on. The usual players in the full squad did not all agree on this, which is very weird to me. They always agree on everything before they do it. Two members of the progressive group, the squad, were the only Democrats to vote against a resolution that memorialized police officers killed in the line of duty and expressed condolences to their loved ones. During a vote Monday recognizing National Police Week, Reps Rashida Tlaib, Democrat, Michigan, and Cori Bush, Democrat, Missouri, uttered the only nays heard from the House floor as the chamber voted on the pro-law enforcement resolution. The resolution, which passed with unanimous support from Republicans and nearly all Democrats, title to read Resolution Memorializing Law Enforcement Officers Killed in the Line of Duty. Now, the bottom line here is I did speak earlier of relevancy, right? Okay, let's be real. Have you heard the squad and the progressives doing anything in the news lately? No, we haven't.
They've been quiet. Yeah.
Not anymore. They needed something to put them back out there, and here we are. We're talking about the squad again. This is what they wanted, okay? Because you're right. There is no reason whatsoever to vote nay on this. You're not going to win. It's not going to help you. You are, like you said, going to look bad like you hate cops, but they didn't care about that. To them, this was a non-issue. Their constituents won't get negative against them because I can't even believe they vote them in as it is, especially Rashida Tlaib. I mean, it's unbelievable. So all they really wanted, in my opinion, Bill, was relevancy again. Here we are talking about them. So I think the best way for us to handle people like this is we're going to stop talking about them.
Well, I don't like to give them much space anyways, Steve. They don't occupy a whole lot of my conscience, I mean,
I know that. I'm just saying, as of right now, that's all I think we should say about it. Let their relevancy fade for now, and let's see what other kind of crap they start to pull.
So publicity at any cost, then?
Yeah, well, we know that. It's not publicity at any cost, but it is how it is. Publicity of any kind is good. We know this. We hear this all the time. Whether it's negative or positive, you're getting publicity. And if
I hope one of them calls 911 sometime and see if anybody shows up. I really do.
They won't call 911. Look at someone like Cori Bush. She's got her own security, so she doesn't care about it. Most of them have their own security. They don't care. Again, let me go back to what I said a little bit ago. Bill, they think we're all stupid. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. This is the We Are Marshall podcast. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. Mosey on over to makeconnector.com and sign up. See what it can do for you to change your life and get a significant other in your life. Now, this other story, again, is the theme of security. This one blew my mind when I read it, okay? Ex-DC Metro contractor logged into sensitive system from Russia. Not that he logged in it here. He was in Russia when he did it. Why would he be doing that in Russia? A former Washington, D.C. Metro Transit System contractor retained access to critical and sensitive Metro data from his computer in Russia after he left his job in a breach that raises border security concerns about one of the nation's largest transit systems, according to a report released today. The cybersecurity vulnerabilities of the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority are a cause of grave concern that the authority's networks are at unacceptable risk of hacking or other forms of compromise, A report from the WMATA's Inspector General concluded, it's the latest in a series of warnings from auditors over years that a transit system that serves hundreds of thousands of people each day in the nation's capital could be susceptible to sabotage or data theft. Now, we've got a border that's very porous, okay? We've got these people coming over here. How do we know Russia's not sending them over, that this guy wasn't an agent that went over there to give them access to sensitive system on a DC transit system, which would be very vulnerable to our politicians, many of our leaders, and things like that? Basically, this guy seems like he's a spy for Russia, and he's trying to do something nefarious and helping them to do so. Again, it's a breach of security. Where is our FBI? Oh, that's right. They're tracing down Donald Trump and fake things. Where's our CIA? Oh, they're doing the same thing. Where's the DOJ? Same thing. I mean, they're so focused, like you did allude to earlier, on ridiculous things going on that they're not keeping their eye on the ball, Bill. Go ahead.
Well, I don't have a whole lot to add to that. I mean, I'm not interested in just filling airtime for you. You know, this is just, it's disgraceful. The first thing I thought of, which you touched on when I heard this story, was when you talk about areas that this country really was concerned about when it came to the possibility of a domestic attack. The metro system is always one of the first ones you think about, because of the inability to escape. It's underground, and the amount of people that use it at any one time. It's an obvious target. I can't believe that they didn't have a system in place where when someone leaves, that they take their password away from them or something. I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about this other than to say that it's frightening. The fact that we even learned about this was probably a mistake. I don't know how it made the news, but I'm sure they didn't want it to get out. This is one of those stories that reminds me that we are not nearly as safe as we're led to believe that we are. I mean, we know for a fact that the NSA, the NSA, FBI, the CIA, they not only detect, but they thwart threats all the time that we never know about. We don't want to know about it. It's not going to serve anybody any good to know about it. But to find out about this one, I mean, run two trains together, do something. I mean, the possibilities for nefarious activity are unlimited here. This is, I guess my only question could be what they're going to do about it.
Yep, it's a soft target, like you said. There's lots of people there. This is one that they'd probably want to hit. And now we're in a little conflict with Russia. Ironically, he's over in Russia doing this. I mean, we're not naive. It looks bad, and something's got to be done because there are so many issues with our security apparatus in this country on so many levels, on so many things. What are they doing? What type of people are we putting in place of these? I don't even feel they're competent, and it scares me too. But
we've never, I mean, in the last 22 years we have, but I don't think anyone ever anticipated the kind of world that we live in today. I don't think anyone ever thought.
I definitely did. I definitely did see this world the way it is today, and I can't believe other people haven't. I mean, I'm a big tech guy, so I'm involved and I pay attention to it all.
No.
The fact that the internet has now exposed so many things to people to hack in and get access, we know it's there. And me being a software engineer, I can tell you right now, there is nothing that's secure.
Right.
Nothing.
Well, as a naive, less so now than then, but as a naive American consumer of what's fed to me, and obviously not privy to what I'm not supposed to eat, I always believed that this nation was secure and that the government had our best interests at heart. Boy, imagine my surprise.
Exactly. But because we're getting near the end, we're a little over, but let's get these two last subjects in. This next one will be good. This is the We Are Marshall podcast. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm Stephen Marshall. This is Bill McIntyre. Go check out our large sponsor, MateConnector.com, and sign up and see what it can do for you in your relationship life. The next one is, this is a day in history segment that Bill likes to bring on here, which I'm all for. I like this stuff, is the Brown versus the Board of Education. I'll let you read this because I got some good stuff to end up on this on. So you start out with this, and then we'll end with my good topic after this one.
Well, why don't I just introduce the nuts and bolts, and then you can do your particular take, and then I'll go from there. On this day, on May 17th, 1954, a major civil rights victory occurred in the U.S. Supreme Court decision that was handed down in Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, ruling that racial segregation in public educational facilities is unconstitutional. Now, what I found significant about this was the basis in which I don't think it's really well known that should be. The basis of racial segregation was on a 1896 ruling by the Supreme Court called Plessy versus Ferguson. It created a separate but equal concept. And it was about railroad cars. And so basically it was stated that blacks can be kept in one car and whites can be kept in another if the accommodations are equal. And this conformed to the 14th Amendment, the 14th Amendment guarantee of equal protection. So that ruling was used to justify segregating all public facilities, which of course were elementary schools. So basically we have Linda Brown, a young girl, elementary school student, who was closer in proximity to a school, a white school, if you will. A walk to the black school she's supposed to go to was a couple of miles, or she would have had to walk. And of course, the white school was much better. So there was the initial challenge of the separate but equal, in that the accommodations in the black schools, anything from the quality of the education to the facility itself, was not equal. So the NAACP took up the cause, and Thurgood Marshall, later Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall, led the legal team, and they handed down the decision that it was separate but equal was unconstitutional, not only in Linda's case, but was unconstitutional in all cases because educational segregation stamped an inherent badge of inferiority on African American students. And this was, doesn't need to be stated the obvious, that this was a civil rights victory. I can't rank them, of course, with the voting and everything. There's been a lot of major advances, but this is a real big one. And this is where all conversations about racism should begin and end with Brown Board of Education. So, Steve, I laid out the framework. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this subject.
Oh, yeah, I got this. Here we go. So Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka was a landmark decision by the U.S. Supreme Court, which ruled that the U.S. state laws establishing racial segregation in public schools are unconstitutional, even if the segregated schools, as you said, are otherwise equal in quality. Progressives love rewriting history. From the 1619 Project to renaming roads and melting statues, if they can protect their party by wiping clean or reassigning their past, not the Republicans' past, remember that, they're all for it. But underneath it all, below what they let the world see, is one simple truth. The Democratic Party was, is, and will always be the party of racism.
Oh, he said it. He said it.
Yeah, I did. They created segregation, and as Democrat Governor George Wallace famously said,
there we go.
Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. Okay, progressives publicly renounced their openly racist past, as fellow progressive Adolf Hitler exposed what was always the end game for eugenics. But their beliefs remain the same. The party of slavery and Jim Crow never changed their goal. They only changed their tactics. Yep. When being blatant racist was no longer acceptable, the left went another direction. When they were no longer able to publicly hate black people, they switched to publicly hating white people. It was the hate that mattered, not the direction in which it flowed. Monkey kidneys are the perfect medium in which to grow viruses in labs. Racial hatred is the monkey kidneys, of progressive politics. It creates the environment where left-wing policies can be advanced. This is disgusting. They're bringing segregation back, Bill. They're going with walls. They want it forever. I mean, it's not even course they are. You go look right now. They are definitively doing this. And then you have black colleges. Okay, that's segregation. You didn't want that before. Now you have these HBCUs that are getting big. Okay, I'm all for every race have an opportunity. If that helps you, excellent. But you railed against segregation for decades. Now you're bringing it back again? I just am flabbergasted. I don't get it. The Democratic Party is so racist. It's disgusting. I'm so sick of them using ists and isms to push their agenda. They just don't have anything to run on, so that's all they got. But now you got people like years ago, Bill, someone would say to you or I, you're racist. And the first thing that would come out of us, I'm sorry, did I say something that offended you? I don't want to be that way. I didn't mean it. Now we're to a point which I really like. If someone says you're racist, we turn to them and say, shut the hell up. We are not racist. Get out of my face. I don't know what you have to say on that before we get into the good story, but go for it.
All right. Well, I have a couple of just brief asides. Morgan Freeman famously said, the best way to stop talking about race is stop talking about race.
Correct.
All right. And the other thing is that, and I'm only mentioning Donald Trump for one very, very brief reason here, is that Democrats were alarmed and surprised and horrified at the amount of people that voted from the African-American community for Donald Trump. Okay. And I wish I remember the name of him, but a very prominent black leader came out and said to a large crowd of exclusively African-American people, he said, the Democrats are your friends every 4 years. They will swoop in here and they will promise you this and promise you that. They will not deliver, and you will not see them again until the next election. Donald Trump actually is trying to make our lives better. And by all metrics, he did. Okay. Racism is obviously a whole other subject. I just want to disclaimer, folks. I just brought up a piece of history here, but Steve, that was a good one, man. You made a strong argument there. The whole thing of racism is a tired, old, but ever prevalent situation, and I just wish we could get past it. Someone calls me a racist. You're right, Steve. I know in my heart that I'm not. And that frankly, my first reaction is that the best you can do? Call me a racist. Come up with something better. Tell me I'm stupid and give me a couple examples. I'm fine with that. But to call me a racist is because it's going to hurt my little white feelings. It's not going to work anymore. It's just not.
It's now been they've cried wolf far too long, so now it's ruined.
We want to look at people for their character, and if we look at someone for anything other than their character, we're looking at them wrong.
We are not for identity here. We are not.
No.
We are for you're a good human. We'll love you to death. I don't care what your identity is. Okay.
Exactly.
So let's move on to this final story. We always like to end the podcast with something good. These are some deep topics that we discussed, and most of them have some negative connotations. So let's go forward with this one. This is the We Are Marshall podcast. Hit like, share, and subscribe, and go check out our sponsor, MakeConnector.com. This last one is a nice story. Everybody vilifies football players as being dumb and big ogre oafs, but come on, they are not. I was one my whole life, so if you think I'm a big ogre oaf, all right, call me Shrek. I don't care. But this story is former New York Giants player saves man from roof of burning home. Okay, a former New York Giants player rescued a man from the roof of a burning home near Rockaway Township, New Jersey this week, CBS New York reports. Intense flames shot out of the house early Monday morning when Cole Ferrand, 23 years old, woke up. He ran to the house next door, saw a man trapped on the roof. Ferrand used an extension ladder from his grandparents' house to bring the man to safety as his frightened mother watched. Quote, he's rescuing this man and the house is going boom, bang, and the flames are flying up into the sky, said Beverly Ferrand. Cole is humble. He thinks anyone would have done that, and I don't just think anyone would have done it. And I'm going to agree with his grandmother. Not everybody would have done that, okay? And that's part of the problem with this country. We don't have enough people that step up like that and help other people when they're in need, Okay, but we are in a country right now where people are afraid to help someone, because you go just look at like this guy Penny, Daniel Penny, that just got in trouble in the subway. He ended up killing Jordan Neely by protecting everyone on the subway. So you got to look at this guy, even though that's the climate of today, and he's in near New York where this happened with Jordan Neely, yet he still stepped up, grabbed the ladder, went up there and saved this gentleman. These are the type of people that should be commended, praised, and put on a pedestal. I love these type of people, and I do love the fact that it's correlated to an athlete, because I have a high view of athletes, probably better than most do, because I was one my whole life, and I know what they're capable of, and this story just reinvigorates everything that I feel about athletes. So this guy should be touted as a hero.
Absolutely. I think more people than not would have chose to grab their cell phones and put it on record, and watch the fire, watch the guy burn up.
At least, yeah. Or they would have called someone that would step in. But I'm going to stay here. I know Bill. I know you very well, and you know me. If we came out of our house and we saw that, we would have done the same thing as Cole Ferran.
I like to think so, but I just want to end my thoughts on this, other than saying great choice, Steve, is that I really like the fact that you throw a good story in at the end of the podcast, because good stories are out there. We're just not seeing them because they're not the news that the trash is, okay? There are good people. I have a very wonderful circle of friends. I know a lot of good people. You know, we've had this conversation before. But my personal experience is that people are good, and there's a lot of feel-good stuff out there. We need to see more of it. This is more of shaking the jar, because, if we were fed as many stories like this as we were about bad behavior and fights and brawls and at McDonald's and Sizzler or whatever the southern states, when they have all these fights in restaurants, we'd have a different world. There's a reason people don't watch the news anymore, but okay, and you just brought up a reason why it's okay to still watch the news. So I like that.
Well, the reason I do it is, let's be real. We have had these conversations. I've been very cynical on many things, but I've had my faith renewed in people. So I now look for good people. I've gone to church. I go to every Sunday, and it makes me just look at people in a different fashion, and I'm grateful for that.
Yep.
So, all right, that was a great episode once again, Bill. Appreciate you coming. Appreciate you all listening to us. We really want to keep coming for you, so keep coming on here and listening, watching. Hit some of those shares, follow. Get this content out there for us so we can get you some more. I'm sure you probably think we're pretty funny. I think Bill's a funny guy, so it helps with the personality of the show.
Well, looks on everything, man.
Well, I look like Shrek, so don't worry about it. But hit that like, share, and subscribe button. This is the We Are Marshall podcast. We Are Marshall. And go check out our big sponsor, MateConnector.com, at www.mateconnector.com. This is a large, very large dating website. It's very inexpensive. You can actually sign up for Mate Connector for a month, and that would be about 1/5 of the price of the big players, with even more features than they have. So go sign up, check it out. We're going to sign off, but we'll be back again tomorrow. This is the We Are Marshall podcast. That's Bill McIntyre. I'm Stephen Marshall. Thank you for listening, and have a good evening.